Mindset Podcast. We're your guide as you make your way through life, getting better 1% every day. We believe that life is lived and true victory won through adversity. Nothing easy is ever worth it. We believe in the warrior ethos and support those that choose to walk that path.
Aaron, what's happening, sir?
Hey, Gene. Hello.
Man, how long has it been? Like 2017, I think the last time I saw you, 2016.
Surreal.
A lot's changed.
7 years, a seventh of one's life. I'm 49.
Same here.
When do you turn 50?
In a full year. I'll be 49 in like 3 months.
October.
Yeah.
I turned 50.
Ooh.
And a lot of fun.
Yeah.
But man. I mean, you throw in a weird pandemic and then a couple weird years afterwards, and now we're pushing 4 and 5 years on some of that. So I was lucky to do a lot of your events.
Yeah, man. That's how we met.
I was talking about you this morning.
Were you?
At one time, my buddy Gene brought me down to St. Petersburg. The hottest this 800 gorilla pounds of meat has ever been in my life. It was just, when I come to you and you're like, I don't know what to do. It was like, you guys kind of know how to handle that shit.
Yeah, we live in the heat, man. We're not West Coast, Northwesterners, man. We live in the heat.
I reference that one because people will say, okay, Cry Me a River. And I'll say, but you've never been to Corpus Christi when I have. And I will never go to St. Pete again in July. I don't care what they dangle,
Yeah,
we're
really.
Aaron Draplin, we're going to this, we're going to that. Never again. I mean, I just couldn't believe, like, how do you, what about like little kids who want to go outside and play like jacks?
We're used to it. We're born in it. Well, dude, so that's really it. This podcast is called The Warrior Mindset. There's lots of trappings and things that go in that, but really what we're about is helping people navigate the bullshit that we have to deal with every day, and it's whatever flavor of bullshit you decide, right?
Yeah.
It's whatever affects us. I've watched you travel like a madman. Like I was just checking the calendar, and like you took a hiatus in 2020. Obviously everybody did, and you've been building it back. So what has that done to you over the years, just hitting the road like you have? I mean, that's how I met you.
Yeah. Well, from the very first one. So I'm building a new website, and we're shooting for September 1.
Okay.
It's close.
Okay.
But in the process of trying to, first of all, you gotta get all my merch up, ready to sell in a proper fashion, because it's pretty embarrassing otherwise. But in the process of getting those things up to speed, and then having the ability to go back and reflect on all those years, because I'm going to list every one of those gigs. I counted them, 538 gigs. Adobe Max is 539.
Wow.
Couple months. So when you do a 10-year glance at that, 13-year, 12-year glance, what a privilege to do any of them.
Yeah.
The momentum to go and make a business out of it, to meet you guys, to meet, I have friends now in South Carolina. And to have a friend group somewhere in Missouri now, or to have all over.
Yeah.
That was the coolest part. Obviously, making a buck, meeting all these cool kids, sharing my mess.
Yeah.
But what does it do to you? Well, it's not necessarily real life. I always knew that, I think, and tried to keep it healthy. But it's, you get lucky, and then you got to be responsible about how you calm it down.
Yeah.
So, the pandemic was a big record scratch,
right.
And I embraced it because, everything was canceled. Like, okay, these things aren't happening anymore.
Yeah.
Like I have a little lost folder somewhere where it was 14 things. of which one was Copenhagen. I just had to, can't do them all. But the lesson there was like, you were really lucky to do this, but how do you sustain it?
Yeah.
And at what point do you just slow it down because it's the healthy thing to do? And I'm pretty sure I'm there. And yet, it's okay. I was able to do it, but what I don't want to be is out humping it and expecting it, and then pissed that I didn't get invited to something maybe. Like, I will never be one of those. We've been in backstages, and it's like, whoa,
yep.
You're lucky to be here. Get your ass out there and sign their book or whatever it is.
Yeah.
So it's been a little transition. I love being around the house. You know? I mean, how's your business been affected by a couple year break or?
Yeah. The conferences themselves, I kind of winded those down. I got burned out on all of it. Like,
I understand.
Started winding those down. So yeah, COVID was the final nail in the coffin to kind of validate some decisions. But other businesses are brick and mortar. So, that was a big deal, recovering from that and being clever, going back to the well, figuring out, man, how are we going to attack this in a different way? And it's been rewarding to build it back,
Yeah. I mean, we all had a chance to reflect on what matters. It's like my buddies who would say to me, I'm with my children every day. Good and bad of that, but wow. Right.
Yeah, it's important.
We've all been going so fast and going so ape shit that, like, the simple things, of course they matter.
Yep.
But it quickly becomes a bumper sticker, one of those deals. And yet to hear friends say, no, this has been pretty amazing to be able to take this time to slow down. It's like, so then selfishly, I want to be one of those that get to slow down or, find what matters. So, I have in a couple respects. I went to a doctor, Yeah, you see this poor guy when I go in there and I just go, well, doc, how many years did you go to school? He's 37 years old.
Yeah.
I went to undergrad and I went to master's year, whatever. I did medical school and all this. I said, okay, now we're up to 12. And I did a couple years, whatever. It's like, so 13 years of blood, sweat, and tears to be digging around in no man's land down below. Like, this is your job. And some days are good days and some days are bad days. And there's some days there's a 800-pound Aaron Draplin sitting in your office going, ready for inspection. This kind of thing. So I went in after not going for a long time. Nothing was crazy.
Yeah.
Other than, what are you going to find under the hood? And, I got to get tinier. I got a little blood sugar smidge, half a point over. I'm not going to exonerate myself with what I've learned in this process. Many people have this, don't even know it. You're not banging on death's door, but if you don't do something about it, things can get a little weird.
Right.
So, a good hearty chat about preventative care and getting on the right track and accepting some stuff that you could be better about. And listen, it's all good hearty shit, but that was one of the things that came out of the pandemic for me, where it was like, all right, if we're going back into higher gear, I've got a concerned mom, a concerned girl, and I'm on I'm in the process. I'm in the mix now. I go in there every 3 months because we're just dialing in basic meds, or checking progress of pounds off, or checking, like what this basic med does to your blood sugar, basic things. And I'm terrified, but I also understand that you have to ask for help,
That's
and be that my you maybe with your guys, you guys are, I don't know what the hell you guys are doing, the axes and shit,
crazy,
each other with chains and stuff. I don't know what you guys are. Just fucking this kind of stuff. I don't know, but I have to ask for help from a trainer, who
Right.
knows how to make someone big like me work the right way and do
Yep.
things.
Do it
Um,
safely.
or ask for help from Lee, who really does watch. Um, well, welcome to my life. I had some kind of a power smoothie.
Oh yeah.
It's like drinking out of a fucking fishbowl. You have one of these things and then bring it down. Some kind of a, I don't know, kale. And,
She's looking out for you.
protein. Oh, of course she is. But this was this
Yeah.
morning.
That's rough.
And then a salad for, I mean, whatever. Listen, to ask, for her help there, that as someone who takes the time to watch out for me.
Yeah.
It's very humbling, and I'm forever appreciative, of course. But the idea is like, how do I switch out jobs 1 through 17? How about jobs 10 through 7 with actually worrying about going on my walks and riding the bike or going to the trainer or jumping around, ropes and shit for a couple times a week. It's like that needs to be a different focus because it's non-negotiable. It's not.
Yeah. You got to get it in there, man.
I just have to. So,
Dude, the world needs you, bro. It does.
Well, I mean, and what is, after a lot of years of having a very privileged existence to go and manifest that stuff, we just have these weird conversations about slowing down and what it looks like, what it means financially, creatively, and then what does matter. So where we live, I live far from Michigan. You were raised in South Carolina, right?
Yeah, born and raised.
Yeah, so I mean that's home. And I of course it's home here for me, but
yeah, but it's not that type of home.
It's just different.
It's not back home.
It's not right. So I wrestle with that a little bit.
Yeah, I bet.
And still, and it's okay. But it's just sort of like we were home in Michigan like 2 weeks ago, and I was kicking the tires on what it would mean just to say we're going home.
Yeah. Yeah.
That is our home, and Lee's family also. So, that's a weird thing. It does not play into the hand of like, I don't know, going out and trying to do tons of things. I have one thing left this year, 2. One in September.
Wow.
And then one in Adobe Max. And that's it.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's good for you though. But like, that's the thing about you, man. That's something that you instilled. You probably have no idea how much of a mentor you've been to me.
Really?
Yeah. Watching you work and everything. When I first met you, you showed up with a suitcase full of stuff that you sold, and you've always done that. You've always had this Midwestern sort of approach to work. And I think it was one time you told me, you were like, look, man, we could be digging ditches, but instead I get to like play with vectors in Illustrator, and that sort of resonates with me because that's how my father was. And I always wanted to bring that vibe to my work, but we work in this digital world, right? And people get awful complacent, and they get awful, like you were saying, you don't want to get to where you just expect it.
Oh man.
How do you stay there? I mean, because you've had some success. I mean, you field notes, you've got a trail of work. You have a book. I mean, I remember that. But how do you keep it grounded? I mean, is that just how your dad raised you? I mean, what do you like to give credit for that?
Well, my mom and dad, when you look back at these things, and it's like, number one, they were cool. They weren't the kind of mom and dad who I'm trying to be careful here because I don't, I was really lucky to have a cool mom and dad.
Mm-hmm.
And my mom's still around. My dad's dead as shit, by the way. He is so dead. I mean, the money we're saving on groceries alone.
Oh man,
what a great benefit. If he could have died 10 years earlier, financially, God, what a pain in the ass he was. But that they taught me that, the easy way out's just not the way to go. My mom, from a young age, taught me about like making lists Pros and cons. Why do you want to move out west right out of high school? You're 17 years old. Go get an associate's degree. So we would just did like a little list of why that would be good and why it would be bad.
Right.
And the best thing was I had the privilege of my parents being able to take care of me for 2 years of $2,000 worth of community college.
Right.
And they didn't even have that. So of course I took advantage of that and went and did it, and it was awesome. But where's that come from? It's like, my dad was funny. I didn't take shit too seriously. So I hope I have a good sense of humor to make fun of myself and make fun of my job and not take my shit too seriously. That comes from there. But, my dad would just pull me aside and say growing up, like, he was a salesman.
Yeah.
And there were a couple jobs that he was offered knowing he would do a good job. And he didn't get the job because he didn't have a degree. So, he would just map it out and say, we're okay.
Yeah.
Aaron, if I could have got that gig, it could have been this, this, and this to help us. And I didn't get it because I didn't have the piece of paper. So that's the world we live in. It's not fair. It's not cool. It's not whatever. But, that's the world we live. And so I see these things. So, for me to balance going and being an adventurer and driving across the West to go be a snowboarder out West as a kid, taking our skateboarding into the mountains or whatever you want to call it, it's like there was always one foot in the pragmatic. You're going to have to work. You're going to have to save. We can't buy you skateboards and things. I mean, we can Christmases and shit, but, you guys break this stuff. You trash this stuff.
Right.
And that lifestyle, you're going to have to be better. You have to work a pizza job or whatever. So, they instilled a no bullshit work ethic from the get-go,
Yeah.
and it's still, I have guilt if I let something go. And yet I'm in a funny, precarious spot because, it just sounds weird, but guys will be like, Draplin, you go whenever you want to go. No. Crack a whip. Let me know I'm on the clock and let me know when you need me.
Right.
I mean, imagine that.
Yeah.
That like today I was 15 minutes late or something. You'd be bummed. We're buds. That's not what you do to a Gene Crawford anywhere. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I agree.
And yet people will dance around that shit and be like, well, you do have this. Nope. And whatever, there are things that you get to enjoy from, people thinking you're some shit in graphic design. But when it comes right down to it, and I close my eyes at night and I open my eyes in the morning, I'm a human being. I'm working. I have to make a living. I take care of my mom. I take care of my girl. I take care of, my little sister, a little bit of my middle sister. And I do that with graphic arts, and I will never shit on that.
That's incredible.
I'm having a harder and harder time keeping the 19 balls in the air and 17 projects, going. It's just, by the way, that has been a lot of years of that stuff, a lot of years. So moving forward, what does those next 10 years look like? I don't want them to be, another 1,000 jobs like that. I don't want it to be, I don't know. So we're just trying to be cool. Luckily, like I said, without sounding too weird, I saved all my money. Yeah. Because for a rainy decade, and let's say I make it to 70.
Rainy decade.
I hope I make it a lot longer.
Right.
But let's say I make it to next morning. The idea is I've got my shit covered for a while. So we've been talking, because I know I was already grilling you, like, when do you turn 50? Okay. I know this is going to sound weird, Gene, but I always thought you were older than I was. Maybe I have my wires crossed because you ran a business.
I fool people that way.
Guys, I just look at it like, how do they run a business and accommodate these clients? Because that's, how does he know how to build out Converge and all this stuff? I mean, I don't, you figure it out, but I give a lot of respect to that because it's not easy.
Right.
And so I know I was pounding on you about 50, but it's like, I might take my 50th year off.
Yeah.
And go out to the Oregon coast more, go camp more.
Yeah.
And just fuck off more.
That's awesome.
And not chase these paychecks like I've been chasing them. Or how about this? Chase creative, whatever. I mean, the moment I get off this wretched podcast, I have to go and make sure that line goes smaller because I'm looking at it over in the corner of the icon. I put my desktop, like
Right.
this is a creative sickness sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
I love making things. I love, making stuff and making a dumb shirt. And if anything, like just celebrating geometry. Like, who makes their own shit and then wears their own shirt? Well, I don't want to say, some Nike or
right.
Fuck, I don't even know what else, Old Navy or some shit. But it's just sort of like, the idea that I've been in this position to make something dumb, sell a bunch of them to people. It's been very cool.
Yeah. Well, it's a hard thing to manage when the thing you do that makes you a living is the thing you love to do almost the most in the world.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
How do you not let that just destroy you?
Well, yeah. Wow.
That's what we've been talking about.
Yeah. I mean, it's like I have a buddy back home. We'll talk, and I'll say, I'm having a rough go. To the point where this guy just went through like a divorce, and he was saying, he goes, you know what? I'm getting back on my feet. I've been through a little bit of a gauntlet. But what scared me the most was that I don't have a creative outlet right now. And I don't, I'm going to watch a bunch of Netflix and
right.
and eat and, defecate and just keep the cycle of life going. But it's like, there's somewhere there that, presses your buttons and gets weird or whatever you want to call it. And yet, when you don't have that, like that's terrifying to me because I just see these flashes and it's like I see a graphic. I had a dream last night. I recreated the graphic this morning. I was junking in a dream and I was like, oh, that's a great looking button. Oh, the way they stack that.
Yeah. And
this morning I got up and sketched it out because it was just like,
that's awesome.
I don't want that to go away. It gave me that little buzz when I'm out there in the world, when I'm junking, I find something and go, ooh, this little thing is just kick ass. Why is this little sun-kissed something or other? Because the logo is so incredible.
Yeah.
And I keep this within arm's length at all times because they're these reminders of some of the most pedestrian stuff that we grew up around.
Yeah, really.
Is beautiful. And yet, okay. So in my dream, here I am finding tchotchkes like this, and then I'll recreate them because it doesn't exist. It's just inside your dream. And then I'll get up and there's just some magic there. So I'm real careful with that stuff with myself to make sure that I always have something to just enjoy making. And if there's a buck to be made, well, kick ass. If there isn't, it's okay.
Right.
But I've been calling them my morning warm-ups because it just gets me into this zone of like, wow, I completed something.
Yeah.
Now, when you're working on the old Chris Stapleton, there's a lot of different factors, and sometimes things don't go as perfectly as they could go. There's a lot of professional people, tug of warring in a lot of different directions.
Right.
And sometimes you feel a little beat up, working with the client. But, you step back and you go, man, I really enjoy his records. I really enjoy the fact that he isn't some creepy ass country guy who's singing about daddy's hands or whatever.
Yeah, right.
The shit sells.
Yeah.
But I really appreciate being able to roll my sleeves up for someone like that, Yeah. I don't think it would be the same if it was some of these other things that make me squirm. So, whether or not there's a buck to be made, I don't think that's a dirty word. And I've been, you've heard me for years on a stage saying, you guys, this isn't just about a paycheck, because how lucky are we to do this stuff? Someone doesn't feel that way at their job right in this second.
Yeah.
And I think you need to be aware of that and then savor that we're able to get away with the murder we get away with.
It's so easy not to. Let me ask you this. This is changing the subject a little bit, but do you consider yourself a snowboarder or a skateboarder?
Yeah, it's an awesome question. I know you're a skateboarder.
See, I wasn't going to go there yet.
I know, but it's just different phases. I grew up a skateboarder
Okay. Yeah.
until I could afford my first snowboard.
Yeah.
Got my first snowboard, and it was we could do it during the winter. So then you're kind of a both,
Yeah.
you
We
know.
don't have winter down here, so
Well, I know, but see, then you start to identify
yeah.
as a snowboarder because that's the group that you're with, and it took us out west. And even though everyone was skateboarding, there were there were skateboarders.
Yeah.
It was a different deal, and
Okay.
I was always careful not to cross those wires because there was a time where I was a skateboarder. That was
Mhm.
it. I read the mags, I read the stuff, I had, t-shirts and the goodies. But I would probably say a snowboarder
Okay.
because then it turned into a job and it turned into my friend group,
Right.
and where we ran into it in a really interesting way was when I worked for my first job at Snowboarder Magazine on the beach down in Southern California. And across the hall was Skateboarder Magazine. These are different worlds.
Yeah.
They're different worlds, even though we knew about that. I knew the
Mhm.
names, I knew the stuff. I remember when I worked at Nixon Watches, one of the main dogs there, this dude, Chad Denena.
Mm.
Denena would like quiz me and say, who was so and so on this team, and I'd say, "Oh, that was so and so." I knew all these
Yeah.
names as a kid because I read the mags and I studied that shit and I watched the videos and I did the stuff. Um, but I will say, when we came west, we were kind of more snowboarders.
Yeah.
We spent the majority of our year from October until shit, even into the spring, May sometimes,
Yeah, it
being
makes sense.
snowboarders. So,
Well, the reason I ask, I think that for me, I think that skating has really informed my approach to life, like work. Like and I'm sure I've never even been snowboarding.
hmm,
But I imagine they're the same people down deep in that it's this tenacity
yeah,
to keep trying the same thing over and over and failing and failing and failing and failing and then
yeah,
finally getting it right. And it's party time.
yeah. I mean, the power of these videos you see where a kid tries it 150 times to land some
Yeah.
dingleberry flip, you know,
Yeah.
there's a blueprint there that you could apply to the rest of your life. So,
100%.
I remember getting frustrated. I remember rolling the shit out of my ankle. I've
Mhm.
always been a big, thick guy. And, slamming when you're 220 in 1991 versus your buddy who's 141, you put him on a hook and you cast him out and you catch something actually, realistic. Um, it's different. It's different.
Yeah.
And, um, which is now shit, man, 30 years ago,
Yeah.
you know, and yet, right, tenacity. There is something there that is pretty interesting because I don't know how to say it. It's like it's easy to shit on the jocks
Mhm.
because they were as forgettable as whatever.
Right.
But do you still apply? I still apply my tenacity to be at what I do.
Mhm.
You know, I'm gonna hear I go just shitting on the jocks, but fuck them. We listened to better bands than us growing up.
Yeah, we did.
And then we did cooler things. So look at your back wall. That is cooler than the guy who was peaked in '91 or
Yeah,
whatever.
really.
Dropped the ball or caught the ball or whatever the fuck.
Yeah.
So you know, I always see a lot of heartbreak in that stuff.
Yeah.
And it's
Oh, yeah.
like, first of all, who cares who's the best? That's what skateboarding taught me.
Yep.
Who cares who's? That's why I'll never understand. Like, I will say, a couple years ago when I heard that skateboarding was going to be in the Olympics, I couldn't be any less interested. I
Yeah.
care less
It seemed weird.
because what it taught me, skateboarding, not even that punk rockery,
Mhm.
indie rockery, heavy metalism. Be together, be creative, be with your friends, watch out for each other, be honorable. If someone
Yep.
gets messed with, stand up for them. But it's sort of like to see that that came from skateboarding. The license to be whatever you wanted to be. I've been listening and watching a lot of old Fugazi footage.
Oh yeah.
Which, I love those records,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
but I their philosophy was very ahead of its time
Hmm.
for a bunch of knucklehead skateboarder people. Um, and there's a lot to glean from that. The idea of being humble, the idea of being fair to every kind of person in the world, the idea of understanding your footprint on the land,
Yeah.
your footprint on stolen land, your footprint, how you conduct yourself. I mean, it's
Hmm.
so I've been watching these things because they probably should have shown that to some jocks too.
Yeah, I
You know,
think so. Hmm.
and I you know, you know, I've never had a hard time with any sort of equality issues around me because I was told as a young kid, women have the exact same rights as you do.
Right.
How dare you challenge that? You
Hmm.
protect your gay friends, you protect your other friends, you protect you because where do we see that?
Right.
Ian Mackay. And yet some of my asshole buddies I grew up with, they need to go do a little bit of college with Ian Mackay because they have strayed from the
Yeah.
from things. But hey, whatever. Um, so I just look at like that identity of like I'm really thankful that skateboarding was a kind of a safe little way to express yourself.
Yeah. It's
And it was
beautiful.
dangerous sometimes too.
I was going to say that earlier, that all that, and there was a sense of danger.
Oh,
Like,
yeah. Well,
like
guys used to jump fences, and I wasn't one of them because I cut the fuck out of my hand one
right,
time.
right.
Cut my, I was coming over the thing, slice. I had my backpack, my skateboard. I mean, I took my
Yeah.
skateboard every day to school.
Yeah.
When you would skate as far as you could, and you weren't allowed to skate on the grounds. And
Right,
we would
right.
walk our board to here's a fun little hack. If anyone is in their senior year listening to this shit, well, I had a buddy one time in my 6th hour or whatever
Mhm.
it was, last hour of the day. Bump, bump, bump on the door. He walks in with this little piece of paper and he looks and he says, I need to have an Aaron Draplin, says my name wrong. Aaron Draplin, come to the office. Probably grab your bags because, and my teacher, Mr. Bria says, Aaron, grab your bag. We'll just see you tomorrow, right? And it's my buddy. And I, walk out the thing and I get to the hall. I go, what are you doing? He goes, let's grab your skate. Let's go skate. There's a session going on, and like he just ripped me out of school, and I think of like that fuckery, which
Yeah.
is like, okay, now how does that apply to graphic design or web development or making a conference or, I don't know that like I've been to some conferences that had a little bit of an edge to them.
Mm.
I never felt any of that at yours. So that there's a welcoming kind of quality. Also,
Right, right.
different people were at those things. And that's a
That's it, yeah.
cool metaphor, and
I think so.
so I don't know, it's like when I look back now, it's like there was a kid a couple years ago who wrote me because it was probably part of his like court ordered 12 steps or something
Hmm.
to apologize for being a bit of a turd,
Hmm.
cool guy back in the day. So he's healing. I
Hmm.
hope he's getting right with things. And I just was so proud to tell him I'm still the same skateboard turd you made fun of. But it
Yeah.
sounds like you're getting your shit together
Yeah.
finally. But hey man, I didn't have to do this.
Yeah.
I don't know what that
Yeah.
means. Who knows what kind of trouble he got himself into, but it's just sort of interesting that like the skateboarding community and the snowboarding community all these years later have always been cool.
Yeah. Always.
I mean, yeah.
That's
Do you still skate?
yeah. Not like I could.
Well, of course.
Because I'm scared. But if I was fearless, I probably could. But
I mean, I got a buddy back home. I know I've told you this too. A buddy back home who's still, he's got probably 80% of his tricks, and
Wow.
and he still rips around. But he's got to wear some pads and a helmet now.
Yeah.
Just things are getting weird and weirder.
Yeah.
But that's been a weird thing. I miss it. But the last time I stood in one last summer,
Scary.
it's scary, man. I don't want to get hurt, you know,
Yeah, no,
or
yeah, a lot
dark,
more on the line.
or just something stupid, hit a little crack or
Yeah.
a little pebble or something. One of my funniest memories of my community college time in northern Michigan was I would I would whip between these classes on my skateboard. It was a beautiful fall day, and I'm hauling ass, and I see this group of girls, and one of the girls I was sort of, get a little case of the Draplins, as they say in the industry, and that shit's chemical at
Yeah.
that. But I'm whipping my backpack. Hey, huh, hit that rock, breakdown,
Yeah.
books, papers,
Just crying. Yeah.
and just skid. You know,
Well, that's the thing that I think it
so
teaches us is
humbling.
it's a huge dose of humility. You've always carried that through. You like
Hmm.
I don't know if you did it on purpose, but like every talk I've ever, and I've heard a bunch of your talks, um,
No.
it's always like kind of 50% about being humble.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know if you think about that much, but
Well, I mean,
it is.
I have a buddy who's always saying, "You fucking boaster, bragging about shit," humble brag, or I don't know. It's like, whoa, 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 show and tell, baby. Just
Yeah.
can't handle it, whatever. I mean, but yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think the thing is I've just seen enough scenarios out there in my youth or growing up where someone had it,
Mm.
and then the currency of having it,
Mm-hmm.
whatever that is. Case in point, when I went to school in Minneapolis, I didn't know anybody there in that entire state, in that entire big Minneapolis city. But there were some guys who had their foothold.
Mm-hmm.
And when you would meet them, I was so pumped to be like, "Oh, that's so and so from this cool website, whatever was
Yeah.
happening." This is 1998 or 99. And I remember the instant threat of when they meet you and you're a something or a hopeful or a maybe.
Mm.
But all the above, they were instantly kind of guarded because they were holding on to whatever little thing that they pulled for themselves in Minneapolis and getting kind of grilled,
Mm.
you know, like because I'm not there to take their shit. I don't care. But when you saw that up close, it was a weird lesson. In, like, there's a lot of room out there. You can have the ability to help someone and not worry about completely having to guard everything. It was the new word, kind of gatekeep or something like that.
Yeah. That's not.
Like, and then on the flip side of that, I met people who would like just share their knowledge with me,
Yeah.
and I would give them my lifeblood to help them through something. So you see these things and you hold that stuff close and you learn how the world can work. I hope that's what came out of me. I don't think it was too much of an angle of better talk about something. I mean, there was always the angle of like talk about something stupid, talk about something that matters, get a little spicy in the politics because I'm pissed or freaked out, or use your platform in a creative way to help a young kid. Like,
Yeah.
I just had a guy tell me, "Oh, you know what I love about your Adobe Max?" I said, "Well, what?" And I'm thinking you know, the hits. And he was like, "You give 10 minutes out of your hour just to lift other kids up."
Yeah.
I said, "Well, why wouldn't I? It's actually good to see
Yeah.
because number one, you learn about these people, but it actually helps these guys. But it just shows that my shit is just you know, a floating turd in the cesspool of the night, just whipping on by. It goes Draplin, and it just leaves at some point. What is
Right.
the arc to this stuff? Because if you pretend the arc is gonna just never, there's never an arc. It just keeps on going up and up. That's a little unrealistic.
Yeah.
And the idea that like I have always been cool to be like, if this arc just stops for me, I hope you enjoyed the other part. But now we're gonna slow it down. Let's do that as creatively by saying thank you and being,
That's
humble
awesome.
about how lucky
Yeah.
we're to even do it. Because I've just been around a couple dipshits who just expected it, and
Yeah.
there's just nothing scarier than
They're
that. So,
never fun. Mm-mm.
yeah, well, I mean, first of all, you've got people saying things to me like, "I'll never hire that person again."
Oh
I,
yeah.
I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah.
I don't know them, and if they're at least cool, well, then maybe that's just not the right fit for your thing or your job or your conference or whatever the hell it's going to be. But man,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, you know, and and I'll laugh about some of that shit with friends and confidence. But I've also seen where people have used that stuff as currency to go tear someone a new one and get themselves more followers or
Mm.
whatever the hell you want to call it. And equally, I'll
Yeah.
never ever be one of those either, to where you're using someone's very heartfelt, sometimes, bad situation to make light of.
Yeah. It's not
Ooh,
fun.
I saw that one from a distance. Like,
Not fun.
I mean, I lost all respect for people doing
Yeah.
that kind of shit.
Yeah. I
I'm
mean,
not perfect, but I try not to ever be that. So
what's the saying? You can, if you want to build the tallest building in town, you just build the tallest building in town. You don't build it by ripping the other buildings down.
yeah,
I mean, that's it. Well, something I've carried, I actually have the hat. It's Get Cosmic.
yeah,
I actually tell people, I coach people all the time, and I tell them that. I was like, look, you just need to get cosmic, man. You need to like think about where you are on this earth for a second.
yeah. I mean, I have a buddy who keeps saying this shit to me, like, Draplin, halfway through the third quarter. It's basketball nut. Because he's like,
Okay.
what are you going to do in the last 30 of your life? You better get your shit together. I was like,
Yeah.
oh, no. I don't think the first 2/3 were all that bad. But he's right. Understand that you're not a 15-year-old.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Understand. So this is the silver lining of this stuff, or whatever you want to call it. Being an 800-pound gorilla is not going to cut it. So I got to get by any means necessary. And I've had the doc spill out a lot of different stuff.
Mm.
But we always go back to, I'm just going to keep walking, watching these calories, and just keep moving. Because I don't want to stick myself with some new drug.
Yeah.
I don't want to go in and have to, the old flop hole down here.
Right.
And they do some stuff. Whoever's listening, maybe have done that and it worked for you. Cool. I've just seen where it didn't work for people.
Yeah.
So, here's the deal. In 1942, how'd they do it? They probably just worked more, worked out, did things, moved more, did things, whatever.
Yeah.
So my buddy will freak me out because it'll just be like, wow, okay. How do I want to live the next bunch of years of my life? Do I want to be in trouble with, health? If you don't have your health, you don't have shit. I don't care how much you have in the bank. So we got to get right with that. Okay. So I'm asking for help. And then, creatively, that part was easy, kind of. I know I dismiss it, but it's like, no, I got myself by tenacity, sheer tenacity of like, to stop myself and say, who's going to think this isn't fun? This is pretty fun. And the fact that you can do something that's like rewarding that way and make a stiff buck is pretty cool.
Doesn't get much cooler.
I don't have any problems in that department. I have problems in other departments. I have to be open to working on and getting better. So, it's like, I'm just freaked out by the certitude, of like that people will sell you things or, I don't know, fads or something.
Yeah.
And I see what you do and I see the time you guys put in and I see the awards and the things. And I know there's something very rewarding there. There's brotherhood and you're raising your boys and you're the guy got to get one of those cool beards like your one buddy with the little fin on top, but he's got the cool, that guy got to get some cool stuff, some cool leather jeans, but hey man, if that guy's your, like a mentor to you and get you, physically or whatever, or just, ability to, use it. These are all good things, on my own. I solved things like getting a 401k built.
Yeah.
On my own, I solved how to get creative, get on top of shit. But also on my own, I let some shit go.
Mm-hmm.
And, you look at 30 years, let's do the math on this.
Yeah.
Who here listening in this audience has gained 3 pounds in a year. Okay, we'll do
Right.
that for 30 years, and then you're
Yep.
sitting here like a gorilla, and there's guys going, "What are you gonna do now?"
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna vector my ass out of that doctor's office. Hell no! I'm gonna sit,
Yeah.
take notes, make him nuts, like I do, and make his earn his money. Because
Yeah.
man, I got a lot of questions, and I'll ask him, "Am I a bad patient, doc?" And he's like, "No." Last time he told me, he goes, "Aaron, 1 in 40 solve themselves.
Yeah.
39 I just treat with medications."
Mm-hmm.
I would even argue it's not all that bad. People just don't have it. They're raising children. They're not ready to do it this time. They're enjoying. I don't even know what they're enjoying. Okay. And he says, "So I can treat you or I can solve you." I know he says this to every single one of them, but I'm going for it.
That's awesome.
It's small gains,
Yeah.
but in the last I went down the first. Today's the 15th, 16th, 17th.
Yeah.
I'm down 11 to 12 pounds.
Really?
So now, listen, this has been a bit of this.
Yeah.
When you go back and you look at about 4 years ago, I went down 45 pounds.
Right.
Who knows what I put back on?
Yeah.
But as long as we're going down,
Yep.
we'll see. By the year 2049, I'll be the size of who was the cool guy down in Florida that we'd always see? What was his name? He's got the daughters.
What, Carl? Yeah.
Carl's size by the year 2052.
Yeah, he's skinny, dude, man. He runs like 50-mile races.
No, I know. So there's some math there that, it's like, okay. So, the idea of like Lee right now is at her trainer. She goes and she loves it. She feels so good afterwards.
Yeah.
I go to a guy who will take on any project, but he just moved about 30 minutes farther away, which just hurts, and yet, I don't know, but I could find someone else. It's these things are good for you.
Yeah.
And I can't, oh God, in one of my low days at his thing, he had a little wood thing that said, this little stupid cheese dick little thing that said, "I think I hear the sound of your fat crying," or "tears are the sound of your fat crying." I just broke it. Get that fucking thing out of here. Not everyone is a little 147-pound little goof like you are.
Yeah.
We have to worry about like elbow fat or some shit. No one is. What are you doing? And it's just these. I'll get it out. Whatever. It's like, I just need to ask for help. And be better about it. And if it's incremental, it's small, it's a slower game. Cool. There is technology, that will help you. It's in the form of surgeries and things like this. But it's like, whoa! Let me just climb Mount Everest by just, Now it seems, and I might be wrong, but did you find an odd piece or an odd problem-solving ability with like this sort of like, I don't know, the structured quality of the martial arts? Brotherhood, or what did you find there?
That's an interesting question. For me, it's not even about, it's about finding something that removes you from that physical part, right? You're facing it head on. You've got to do the physical part. That you have the tenacity to do it. But what gives you that vehicle, to metaphorically like climb in and can surround yourself with people that are sort of on the same trajectory as you?
Is it easier then?
Yes.
Or just a little bit, or let's just, not easier,
Yes.
But it's easier to have a group to high five. I mean, that makes sense.
100%.
It's no different when you're working on a project, same shit. Yeah. Okay, cool.
Same shit. And in the martial arts, it's you kind of these tiered systems and you grow and accomplishments and stuff, whatever. I mean, I like it. I'm going to say the word brotherhood, but I mean, we have men and women and all shapes and sizes of people, but
humankind,
I love the brotherhood. I just love the fellowship, that could be a loaded word too, but I love that part of it. And that's what drives me.
People find that I used to drive down to my little sister south of town here. To go see my nephew. God, every couple of days when he was 3 and 5 and 7, go play with him and stuff. But I would drive down this one big boulevard, and we'd get on like a little bit of a mini highway. Right before I got to that mini highway, you go through these neighborhoods. And you look off to this one side, and there would be this Magic the Gathering Tuesday nights or something. Now, your first reaction is to make fun of the LARPers or to make fun of the wizards and the elves and all this kind of shit. But I don't want to say I was that guy. I mean, I'm still, feel a little bad when I make fun of some whatever, I don't, not even nerdery, just flamboyance, whatever that means. But what you come to find out there is every Tuesday night they were together. One time I was driving by and there was like a pizza guy bringing in food or something, and it was just like they have each other. And that is pretty interesting. There's guys that are 3 times my size. There's guys that are 1/3 Aaron Draplin size. There's young ladies. There's people identifying as who the hell knows what. And they're all accepted. And I just always think about that.
It's beautiful.
That like it is beautiful. And it was like, wow. Where have I found that? Well, it was meeting you guys on the road or any of these awesome people, it's going to sound horrible, but it was pretty rare to meet someone that you were just like, I couldn't be around this person. The average case study of some person that was interested in what we do or around it or trying to make a go at it, pretty cool people. I mean, that's just a weird little stock report, but it's the truth. And I was always so thankful to be around or be allowed to be any of that. Because like I said, when I go back to this Minneapolis life, you got this sense of like, I don't care to rule the community here. What does that even mean? I just want to get a job. So I have to pay back some school loans. That was it.
Stay focused here.
That was it. It was never to be like, that's why I love, like, I do this. Well, Draplin, how are things going? Just so you know who you're fucking with. I'm Portland's 47th fastest graphic designer. I'm working my way up. I'm, like 440. Like one time I made a sticker for Stapleton that said something like Nashville's, 39th fastest guitarist. He loved it because it's like,
I love it.
Who gives a shit?
Yeah.
We laugh at ourselves because that is the truth. There's always going to be someone who's better, cooler, faster, or I'm trying to be careful here, maybe in a little more need of help. And you could have a little compassion for someone who's going through some shit. So, I don't know. I hope that came across when I was up there making a fool of myself at a Converge or something.
Always did.
Well, I appreciate that. When I told you 538 or whatever I said, times, a whole bunch of those were Converge products. Thank you. It was pretty cool. And it's like, I don't know, let's say, which is just nuts. Let's say there was 5 of them. That's 1% of my thing. Like, there were some products, or let's just say groups of people, where it's like 10 and 12 things. Once a year I was going somewhere. And, starting to double up and stuff. And it was this sort of like, when you look back at that, the adventure of, getting to know a Carl or a Giovanni. What's Giovanni doing these days?
He's working.
You guys still work together?
I don't work with him anymore, but he, I don't know if you all these code schools.
Yeah.
He's working for another one.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, I just remember the curious case of this.
Yeah.
How do you know how to code all this shit?
Yeah.
And how do you know how to be that kind of illustrator?
Yeah. He's a beast.
That is something I will never forget because I'm not that, and it's like, oh, I want to go be, many things.
Yeah.
And have a little, I got a little list, but it was like, that's one of those things where it was like, it was very, refreshing to be like, you can do a lot of different shit in this stuff. And you don't have to be just one kind of developer, one kind of, because, what we're talking about on a larger level of being 50 years old coming up here is like, next 10 years of my life, What do I want to do? I want
Yeah.
to paint. I want to draw. I want
Yeah.
to get my hands dirty. I want to build things because when I'm futzing around, I only have a couple projects right now. So I have cleaned both my tough sheds. My records have never been tighter. And you see here just,
Yeah, look at that.
by the way, the Maroon 5 sections in the MAs, over here.
Where's the Nickelback section?
Oh my God, those mother. So, like just the ability to keep your shit tight.
Yeah.
It has been a privilege these last, couple months. But see, that's one project. Health is another project. Making sure my mom is taken care of is another project. These
Yes,
are
sir.
like you have to displace certain things to make room for those other things. I was juggling all of it, but some stuff not so well.
Yeah.
So I just got to get better,
Well, so you're at that point. You're at that point in your life. I think a lot of people, they've lived their life and they're there. You're starting to think about legacy. What I think that's a good place to kind of start wrapping it up is like when you think about your legacy, what do you want it to be and how are you planning for that eventuality, man?
Oh, wow.
I think about it every day.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, I can spill 17 things about this. It just spill out of me. Years ago, pre-pandem, we went to Lansing, Michigan to meet a guy who worked in the state archives of Michigan, who said, if you ever come home here, we would love to have your archives.
Huh.
I kept everything, high school things, stuff, college. It's all in like archival boxes upstairs. But for him to say, by the way, it's not like it, whatever the Aaron Draplin pile of stuff would be, it's not like it's a studio like I'm in here. It might be a good solid, closet. I don't know, 6 by 8 by 10 foot. I don't know. And he showed me a couple of other artists that you're like, I know that person's name. Well, we have her entire, sketches.
Yeah.
Years ago, when I knew Chip Kidd,
Yeah.
I was getting my book going and reached out to him through different things, and we met him in New York City and all this other stuff. He had all of his archives were to Penn State, his alma mater, right? And when he does die, hopefully Chip is still kicking in New York City, making books for Oprah and whatever the hell he works on. Yeah. What do you mean you're like a legacy? I know that Vignelli, all his shit's in Rochester.
Mm-hmm.
So here's the deal. It's like, I'm not one of those. But just even think about that. Like, I hope I make it through the night, much less what'll happen to all this stuff. But, it's like, I don't know. I would just hope that the legacy that I have, the seed that I have spread across the land of graphic design is that you can have fun with it.
Yeah.
You can go pretty big with it, but don't be afraid to go keep it shitty and small, whatever that means. And I hope that's what you glean from it. Because every now and again, I'll have guys who write me and say, I didn't think you'd be that approachable. Well, they haven't listened to some podcast or something. You talk to my kid like other people just don't. And I was like, well, that's a good review.
Yeah.
But it was like,
not a douche. Yeah.
Like, well, right. I hope not. So legacy is a weird thing, but it's like, I'm getting ready to go meet with a state person.
Okay.
Because they just put together all your like who gets what ism, if something bad was to happen.
Right.
And it's a real scary thing because you're getting into some mortality 101.
Yeah, man.
And I think it's just kind of a shitty thing to not have it sorted out, right? Yeah. So I have resources where I can go and actually afford that, so I'm gonna. Yeah. And boy, it's messing with me, but whatever. It's like going to the doc. You got to go do that. You got to go get your estate in case something horrific was to happen. We know that I can just tell you right now, what's the trying to think of. I got a long list of people that won't be getting shit. I got a long Helvetica black. You never, whatever. But just to have all that stuff, like, so it's like, all right, I got that out of the way. Now I want to get busy just enjoying my next 25, hopefully 25, next 5, next 20 years, whatever it's going to be, and do it right. And do it the best I can. I mean, if you ever come to the Northwest, we always have a place for you. And what I mean by that is, I know you're a family man. I've met your better half, met many very, very sweet lady, but like so kind, very nice to, but please tell her I said hello. But because I met some wives out there that were just wanting nothing to do with any of us at these things. I see your boys are like bearded adults now.
Yeah, getting there.
If you're ever out here and you're doing something, I have an extra room up above my shop here.
Love it.
And if you were just whipping through because you had a job here, I don't know.
Yeah.
And you need a place to crash. Let's just say you're coming through because you're just whipping through Portland just for the hell of it. I could put you up.
I'll take you up on that.
Just know that,
Same here.
There's a couple guys coming out here. The Lincoln guys are doing some deal out here, a little conference, and there's a couple buddies coming, and there's a good chance they might be hitting me up for a night in the upstairs deal, because
that's how it's done.
When I'm gone, friends will stay there because I'd rather have a warm body here.
Yeah.
Guarding my foot-long smash mouth section. It's about that long, over here in the wall, in the SMs. But well, listen, man, it sounds like you're doing good. I'm happy. I don't quite understand all the order and what you guys are doing, but I like to see that you have gleaned something from that is inspiring you. And I'm also like to see that you're helping other people. That is an odd thing and a rare thing and a commendable thing.
Thank you.
I've been seeing that. Some people, listen, they're worried about their car, their time off. And if your self-development or whatever is, you've got yourself sorted out a little better than you're helping other folks, that's pretty fucking cool, man.
Thank you.
So
if I charge a dime for it,
you guys can put some little bandanas on me and
all right,
whip me in and throw me into the rocks and shoot shit at me.
We'll do it.
Hit me over the back with a 2x4.
Yes, sir.
Roll me around in the dust a little bit, blood and gore. I don't know. It's like, my trainer is. You want to go do this, fun run. And it's one of these, I don't know, warrior things or something, underneath that stuff and stuff. I get it, man. If you're able to, it's not about the culture of that day. Yeah. Did you accomplish it? That's pretty cool.
That's it.
Whether or not, I'll just say, you know what? I went on a 2-mile walk every night. And can that just be okay? And he's like, that's pretty good.
That's amazingly difficult to do.
It's just a pain in the ass. But, I put my headphones in sometimes, or Lee and I go out, and before I know it, she just talks the entire time. No subject is off limits.
Yeah.
I mean, some of the shit that she will talk about in those talks, before I know it, I'm looking for a good tree to run myself into and just end it all. That's after when we go on these little walks. That's why I was back in Michigan, and we were looking at property, and I said to the realtor, I go, how are the trees here? Are they pretty strong? Because if I just want to kill myself after moving back here, how's that going to work?
The limbs hold me. Yeah.
Go to Lake Michigan. I can, I don't know. I can go just get the orange van and run it right into a tree, because I just, that's it. I can't take it anymore in Michigan. Anyway, there's always an option. But, well, thanks for your time, man.
Yeah, man. Thank you for your time. Why are you thanking me? I appreciate it.
I don't know. I was always liked you. You were always good to me. Always a fair wage. You always took care of me. You never gave me any side eyes. Sell your shit. Do what you got to do. I just appreciate it, because I didn't know there was a world of Gene Crawfords out there that you could go do these things with. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I knew a little bit about it when I lived in Minneapolis, and people will make fun of me when I talk about I'm not a card-carrying AIGA member. That was nothing political.
Right.
I just didn't have the money at certain times, and you hold on to those sorts of things. So it's like, now when kids will write me and say, okay, what are your recommendations for the top 4 design conferences? Sometimes I just tell them, don't even go.
Yeah.
spend your money and go, take a couple night classes.
Yeah.
You're gonna go party down. It'll be fun. But
Yeah.
what are your goals? You want to get better at design? They're not going to teach you that shit in a day. You're going to go drink and party and fight and all the other things you do at Converge.
Yeah.
That's what you're going to go do. And it's a fun. Take a day off. That's okay. Because I think we're in this weird time where people are like asking me, well, what one's going to solve something for me? And it's like,
they're not going to.
You're going to have to just put the time in. Make design fun.
Do the hard thing.
Well, yeah, me dinking around with a little, whatever I'm messing with here, it starts there.
Yep.
And then turns into this. Now it's going to go become a refined vector. There's no money behind that, but there is a sense of like, when I have an off day like I'm having today, nothing bad, just I need to accomplish a little something.
Mm-hmm.
Now I'll go clean around the house. We'll go on the 2-miler, and all those little things add up, and we'll see where it goes.
How you build a win.
Take care, man.
Thank you, brother. I appreciate the combo.
If you ever need any field notes or anything, I'm with the company. So you just let me know. DDC wise too. And next time you talk to old Giovanni, just tell him Draplin said, always a fan, man.
I'll do it.
Yeah, it really was.
Let's get down to business here.
All right.
Okay. Are we in the frame and everything? Hi, everybody. I'm Aaron Draplin here with Giovanni here.
I can't find my wallet.
Isn't it funny that the bigger bands always are the ones that kind of suck? So anyway, the Perl script of the Ruby Rail. Well, what do we have here? Shit, the fungus and the Fremunda cheese, reticulators and lahibulators. Siri, what time's dinner? Sorry. I got a merch table I got to set up, Giovanni. Let's go. We're called Shitster. There's a triple parked PT Cruiser out in front, registered to a James White of Hudson Bay, Ontario. Okay. Let's talk packing into a seat for a 5-hour flight down here. What's the next one you guys are gonna do, like Barbados or something? Why can't you do something in Idaho?